Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one now. Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Spirituality. Oh, now we get real.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. Thank you for my weekly regular listeners, and welcome to my new listeners. Thank you for finding Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, Rebecca L. Norrington, the world's only happiness specialist. If I could say it, it would have been really powerful. That's right, the world's only happiness specialist. Huh? What? Who is she? How the hell did she get that title? Well, I gave it to myself. Happiness specialist. What the hell does that mean? That means that what I share on this show, what I share on Reality Spirituality Radio, is how to experience more happiness in life. How to experience, because happiness is a formula, my dear audience. There is a formula for happiness. And that formula is a very simple formula. You weren't taught this. I promise you, because I wasn't taught this. But happiness is found in the mirror. That's right. Having the ability to look in the mirror and be okay, accepting you, your life, and everything around it. Happiness, my definition of happiness, is how to be at peace, regardless of what happens to me and regardless of what doesn't happen. Happiness is being at peace regardless of the circumstances. There is a formula. When I said there's a formula for happiness, the formula is this. Like any other skill, from writing to speaking to a musician to sports to doctor to a landscaper, happiness is a practiced skill. And it depends on, and your happiness depends on what you practice. Your happiness depends on what you practice in every moment. And when I say happy, I'm not talking about, oh, guess what? I won the lottery and now I'm happy. Or I got a Grammy and a Tony and an Emmy and an Oscar and now I'm happy. No. This happiness that I'm talking about is a foundational happiness. It is there with you regardless of what you experience, because life is a roller coaster of events. I mean, I'm no different than you. I'm absolutely no different than you. However, when I say that, I mean as far as getting life's challenges, and that's what it is. Life is challenging enough. We are all challenged by this life. Listen, I can say this, that if it was up to me, I would have written the script a little bit differently. Can you relate to that? I would have written this script a little bit differently. But the key is, the truth is, it doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter what doesn't happen. It matters what is your foundation. What are you rooted in? Are you rooted in trust, surrendering, acceptance, being okay with uncertainty, letting go of control, relaxing, knowing that trusting that everything is in divine order? You either are practicing that or you're not. And today's topic, it's so interesting, because I like to come up with these topics depending on what happens, what I experience during the week. And so this week it was really interesting. One of the topics today is talk, and we're also going to add subtle changes. When I say talk, how many of you out there, raise your hands. Oh, let me just give the number to call in. I have a few people in the queue. The number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. To speak with me live, just press the number 1. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And for my new listeners, I want to ask you this question. On a scale from 1 to 10, and only you can answer this question, only you can answer it. On a scale from 1 to 10, how important is happiness in your own life? How important is happiness in your life? And let me be very clear. This happiness that I'm talking about is a vibrational energy. It is a vibration of peace. It is a vibration of contentment. It is a vibration of feeling satisfied, that vibration of satisfaction. Regardless of what's happening, there's a vibration of satisfaction. So when I say happy, that's what I'm talking about, a vibrational energy of peace. And you can practice experiencing more of that. When you make a commitment, when I say what on a scale from 1 to 10, if you say 10, hey, let's go. because when you say 10, that means, well, actually it really doesn't mean that, but for me it means that I am committed and I'm prioritizing being happy. That's it. It's my agenda. It's my intention. Number 1 is be happy. So my answer is 10. And then the other question you ask yourself, what is your definition of happiness? And we all are as different as our fingerprints, and your definition may be different than mine. My definition is to be able, and you've heard it a million times, especially if you've been listening to the show for a while, my definition is the ability to be at peace regardless of what happens. And then you ask yourself, what's subtracting from your happiness today? And only you can answer that. So what is subtracting from your happiness? And I'm going to say that the subtraction from happiness is coming from the person in the mirror. It's coming from you because you have control over choosing how you're going to respond. Choosing how are you going to respond, or are you going to react? Are you going to react based on the program? I'm going to get to the people in the queue in just a minute. Are you as happy when you're faced with these life's inevitable changes? Now, today's topic, let me just add some more other questions. These are yes or no questions, and only you can answer these, of course. Can other people hurt your feelings? That's either yes or no. Can other people offend you? Can other people disappoint you? Do you blame other people for how you feel? Do you blame your circumstances for how you feel? So if you answered yes to any of those questions, the good news is you have room. There's more space for you to be happier and be at peace. Because can anyone hurt your feelings? The answer is no. You have the power. Those are your feelings, and you're responsible for your feelings. I know we were programmed to believe that other people can hurt our feelings, but that is just not the truth. So those are some of the questions that you can ask yourself. When I said the topic of the day is talk, and I'll get to the queue in a minute. I have a few people that want to ask questions. I want to share with you, this happened on, I believe, it was Friday. So I'm in the parking lot, and I run into, not with the car, I run into someone that one of my students, exercise students, and we were just chatting. And the topic of, and because she's a big Alzheimer's advocate, and she has a group, and she does this charity event and to raise funds, very good cause. And so she was sharing with me how she would never want to end up having Alzheimer's or end up having to be cared for, having to be in a home where you're wearing diapers, you don't know what day it is. Is it Sunday? Is it Friday? Is it afternoon? Is it morning? You don't know what breakfast you're having. All of that when you lose your mental capacity. And she said to me very adamantly that she does not want to end up like that. And I shared with her, me too, ditto. I'm right there with you. I watched my father go through that and not really knowing. But the thing that the universe blessed me with this with my father. He always recognized me. It was never a time where he didn't know who I was. Now, he didn't know how often I visited, and he didn't know where he was, and he didn't know a lot of things, but he always remembered my face. And that was a real blessing. And also, this man, in fact, his birthday was just last week, this man, the stoic man, my father, was such a strong man, and he's from a generation where they didn't say I love you, they didn't hug, they didn't do any of that display of affection. So I grew up without all of that. But with his illness toward the end of his life, during the end of his life, this man was holding my hand, telling me he loved me, telling me how smart I was, how great I was. I mean, I'm looking at him, gee, why couldn't you have been this my father when I was younger? Well, I get this man that I've been longing for. You have this ideal of a parent at the end of his life. But see, that's the key. That's the real key right there. It's the appreciation for all moments in their time and when it's happening. I wasn't supposed to have a father like that years ago when I was growing up. I was supposed to have this man who told me he loved me at the end of his days. See, and for whatever reason, the universe set it up like that. So when we were talking, me and my student, we were chatting, we were talking about, I'm not going to end up in a home. That's not going to happen to me. I said, I've already thought about it. I said, what's Dr. Kevorkian? Geez Louise, why can't I say that? Kevorkian. What's Dr. Kevorkian's number? I don't even know if he's around, but there's a lot of different. And this isn't a show about ending it all, but my point is this. When I was telling her that I thought about it, and I was telling her that I thought about the same thing, she said to me, well, I just don't want to end up in that kind of facility. I am not going to end up in a home like that. And I said to her, well, what are you doing about it? What are you doing? What are your plans? What are you planning? See, it's very easy. How many of you out there can stand in the line that and the sign in the line says problems? State your problems. How many of you out there can go right to that line that says problems, line up here for problems? And the line is going to be out the door, and the line is going to be wrapped around the block for people that can come up with, focus on, talk about, discuss a problem. When I was sharing with her that I've looked into it, researched, and I know how I'm gonna. Well, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I can have an idea. When I said, well, if you don't want to end up like that, what are you doing? We're both, in that third stage. What are you doing about it? Oh, I haven't done anything. I haven't researched anything, but I know I don't want to end up like that. I don't want to end up in a home where people are taking care of me. And the interesting thing, this woman said that to me at least 4 or 5 times. I do not want to end up in an old folks home. I do not want to end up in an old folks home. I do not want to end up in a home for memory care, assisted living. I do not want to live in a home like that. And I kept asking her, so what are you doing? What have you done? Are you just talking? And that is my point to you, my dear audience. It's very easy to point out a problem. It's very easy to sit and talk endlessly about a problem. I know people that can talk about a problem, and the problem was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 months ago. I know people that can sit and talk about a problem. It's all out there. I mean, who's not discussing problems? And my point to you, if you really are committed to wanting to feel and be happier, if you are prioritizing vibrating this energy of peace, if that is really what you say that you want, the talking is very, very limited. You can talk about it, but when you get in that line, when you get in the line for solutions, now solutions aren't always easy to implement. The solution may be easy to find and discuss, the solution may be easy, but it's not very easy to implement. That's what I really want to say, to implement, meaning that it might be uncomfortable. In fact, if you're growing and you're expanding, it's definitely uncomfortable. Now, I have a few people in the queue. Some people hang up. Some people come back. Some people say they want to ask a question, and then they leave. So if you want to, the number is 646-564-9619. If you want to speak with me, just press the number 1. And if you just want to listen to the show, that's okay, too. I can do that I can do it either way. Back to the line for the solutions. It's very easy to line up in the line with the problems. I don't see too many people lining up in the line of solutions. And the line, not only the line of solutions, consistently lining up with the line of solutions. What I notice is a lot of talk, and sometimes it's called complaining, sometimes it's called negativity, sometimes it's called Debbie Downer. I hear a lot of talk. There's a lot of what's wrong. Not only what's wrong in my life, but what's wrong when I say my life, I mean in general. What's wrong in my life, there's what's wrong with everyone else, right? It's not only what's wrong with my life, it's wrong with everyone else. The peace, the contentment, the wanting to experience more happiness comes from standing in the line of solutions. Comes from being in the line of solutions, comes from creating, finding, not creating, scratch the creating, comes from figuring out and finding solutions. Happiness, peace does not come from talking about a problem. What's wrong? The peace comes from finding a solution. And let me say this, that the solutions can be tried and tested and tried again and tested and tried again and tested. The solutions are never ending. The solutions, there can be multiple solutions. It's never just one solution. There could be hundreds of solutions. But the practice is, the commitment is standing in the line, being about the solution. Or are you about the problem? Talking about the problem. I asked the woman I was talking to earlier, and she said it at least 4 times, and I'm not exaggerating. I don't want to end up in a home where people have to take care of me. I do not want to end up in a home for memory. I do not want to end up. She said it at least 4 times, to the point where I said, you said that 4 times. That's how. I mean, it's not easy to talk to me. because I'm going to point out what's really going on. I said, you said that 4 times. You said you don't want to wind up in a facility where people have to take care of you 4 times. What have you done about it? And each time the answer was nothing yet, nothing yet. But do you see how the conversation can go on, much like this show, can go on and on and on and on, staying in the muck of the problem, in the dirt of the problem, in the mud of the problem? The happiness, the peace comes from solutions. And each of us is responsible for finding a solution that fits self. My solution may not work for you or yours, but to stay in that mode or to have the intention of solution as opposed to I'm standing in this line for problems. And I can't get any more clearer than that. Anyone can point out a problem. Just like anyone can have a child. All you need is a man and a woman, and you can have a child. It doesn't mean you're going to have good parents. It doesn't mean that the child is going to be raised to have this grand sense of self without a spirit broken. It doesn't mean that, but anyone can have a child. Any man, woman, don't even have to be of age, can have a child. So it's the same thing with anyone can point out a problem. The solution starts with self. The solution starts with you. The solution never starts with pointing your finger and saying, well, they have to change and they have to do something different, and now we have to have a talk because I don't like what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it. The solution is never about anyone else. And if you think that you can find a solution with, well, listen, let me go back a little bit. Because I'm not talking about a group. I'm talking about us as individuals. We are as different as our fingerprints, and I'm talking about our individual solutions, our individual challenges. How are you going to get along with a coworker that you can't stand? How are you going to interact with your mom when you can't stand her either, or your father or your sister? How are you going to? You know what I'm talking about. This is an individual play, an individual. When I say game, those are air quotes, but this is an individual life with individual strategies. So coming up with your own solutions is a constant. It never, ever ends. And the solution with the agenda is always to find peace within yourself. The solution is always looking for how am I at peace with myself? How can I be at peace? And you can feel the difference, whether you're restless or whether you're at peace. So finding solutions is a key, hey Nathan, is a key factor. Again, anyone can stand in the line talking about a problem. And in fact, the line is overflowing. But who stands in the line for solutions? Who's standing in the line to coming up with a solution? The second topic for today's show is subtle changes. Now, what I mean by subtle changes, we're coming into the holiday season, and there's so much expectations with the holiday season. But one of the things that I know that a lot of people do is celebrate. You celebrate Thanksgiving, you even celebrate Halloween, you celebrate Thanksgiving, you celebrate Christmas, you celebrate New Year's Eve. You celebrate. Holidays are there to celebrate. And I want to share with you another. I'm going to give you something else to celebrate. How's that? I would like to share with you another something else to celebrate. and that is celebrating your own growth, your own expansion, your own change. And when I say subtle changes, are you able to monitor? Are you practicing awareness to the point where you can write down how you're different than you were 6 months ago? You can actually come up with something literal and write down how are you different from 3 months ago. And when I say different, I mean there is a difference that can be measured. My example that I give is when I moved to Oregon. So funny, all my life I've lived in these houses, and as soon as I started the practice of taking shoes off and no shoes in the house, that was really I was constant. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, I'm not even going to try to figure it out, but moving to Oregon and living in Oregon, that that practice, the rule of taking your shoes off in the house is sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So when I say monitoring and celebrate changes, I celebrate that change within myself because there was a rigidity. See, is there a word rigidness? There is a rigid aspect when I said no shoes in the house. I could feel it in my vibration. I could feel the difference between light, easy, no shoes, thank you, no thank you, take it or leave it, or it has to be no shoes or else I'm going to have a problem. Shoes off, shoes off. I mean, I remember people coming to the house, whether they were repair people or service people, doesn't matter. But if they walked in with the shoes on, and I would look down at their shoes and no shoes in the house, and I was, the steam would start coming out of my ear. And when I say celebrate subtle changes, that subtle change is, the only way I can describe it is there's a relaxation. There's a relaxation. There's a relaxed vibe that I have now. And before 6 months ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, that relaxed vibe wasn't there. See, you can still decide to not have people wearing the shoes in their house, but without that rigid, that energy with the extra charge to it. That energy with the extra charge for me is unnecessary. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm accepting it all, but it's really unnecessary. So when I say unnecessary, it's just that I'm navigating through this life, journeying through this life now with less baggage, with less things to carry. If it's unnecessary, that means I don't need it. I don't need it anymore. And with me not needing it, and with the suitcases getting lighter, I feel lighter. Now, with that energy of don't need it, that letting go of that rigidity, letting go of this has to be a certain way, I can list so many different things that have happened. And so when I say subtle changes, it's just about you, my dear audience, being aware of your own changes. As subtle, and the most subtle are the most powerful. The most subtle changes bring the most, bring us more freedom. The most subtle changes, because there's a big difference holding on to something for dear life and holding on to something very lightly and being okay with, okay, if it happens, okay, if it doesn't happen. The world isn't going to end if somebody's walking in my house with shoes on. And I'm saying all that because there is a vibration of peace, of freedom, when I let go of all of those things. I'm holding on to them for dear life, thinking that they were so important. And when I say subtle changes and celebrate, I want to encourage you to celebrate yourself and your own changes and your own growth, and celebrate them often. I would say every day. If you're asking me, I would say celebrate every day. That's right, every single day. There's something to celebrate. How about this? There may not even be anything to celebrate. Let's have a celebration. Let's celebrate celebrating. See, there's a mindset, there is a dynamic, there is a vibration of lightness, is what I'm wanting to focus on. Let me look at my notes really quick here. Problem line, yes, everybody can get in the line with the problem. Who's getting in the line for the solution? Holiday season, celebrate subtle changes. So my question is, are you celebrating? And see, the more you celebrate, and celebrate, that celebration is a vibe too. The more you celebrate, the more you'll vibe celebrating. What? The more you will vibrate celebrating. And what are you going to do today? Celebrate. Celebrating what? Doesn't matter. I'm celebrating. And what does celebrating look like? To everyone, it's different. Some people can take a walk celebrating. Some people could have a meal, a comfort food meal, and celebrate. Some people can watch a television show and celebrate. It doesn't matter what the celebration or how you choose to celebrate. It is as your celebration is as unique as you are. My point is to celebrate, period. Hold on a second, my Nathan. Let me put you on the show. Welcome to Reality Spirituality, my Nathan. Do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thanks for the shout-out earlier. I just wanted to celebrate being here on your show. Happy being on your show day.
Well, and you see, it's the smallest things. There's no waiting to celebrate, waiting for a day, waiting for a holiday, waiting for a birthday, waiting for the weekend. This celebration vibration can happen, can be any single time, at any time, and without even knowing. I lit candles this morning. I always like candles for the show. Celebrating the candles. I always have music on. Let's all start celebrating. And Nathan, how do you celebrate? What do if you would like to share? What do your celebrations look like?
Yeah, so to my celebration, well, I thought when you talked about music and candles, sometimes I feel like I'm celebrating the morning with my music. It feels like I had listed a guitar solo station, and that feels like I'm almost celebrating the morning. And
almost.
Almost. I mean, almost. Because I like what you said. About celebrating any moment, any time. I think some celebrations for me really feel like a big deal, big party, all of the accessories, a lot of people, and then some celebrations are just smaller, or like you said, subtle. So, and I think what I'm realizing just listening is that celebrating can really look like many different things. It doesn't have to just look like one day a year or 2 days a year or this particular way of celebrating. I can really get creative with it.
Yes, exactly. And now you're bringing something else up, because the waiting for a holiday, the waiting, I don't know about you, but I do remember thinking that the holidays when I used to, the holidays are the be-all, end-all. Oh, I can't wait for Christmas. And it was March. Can't wait for Christmas. But when you said the celebrating, it's the smallest, because that celebration is a vibrational shift. Oh, this is what I was going to say. I just remember being so disappointed because I had such a big expectations for the holidays or a big party or a big birthday, and it was never, I'm not going to say never, but a lot of the times it just fell short of what I envisioned, planned, or wanted to feel. And I'm here to say that for me, this waiting for big celebrations, I'm dividing it up and celebrating a little, throwing a little celebration dust on Sunday, a little celebration dust on Monday, a little celebration dust in the morning, in the evening, just like you said. I'm putting some celebration dust on everything, and now that becomes my identity. Who I am is I celebrate life.
Yes, I love that so much.
And the smallest subtlest, smallest changes, smallest events, the smallest events, even to the point of getting a coffee. I get these coffees once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. And man, oh man, are these coffees, even with just half a shot of mocha, they're just so good, and they make me smack my lips, and the celebration can be of the smallest. In fact, the smallest things, celebrate the smallest, can feel so satisfying.
Wow, yeah, I'm really on board with this, because now I'm feeling like, okay, if I celebrate the smallest things, I'm going to have a lot of things to celebrate. I might even forget, okay, the holiday's coming up. Listen, I'm busy. I'm busy celebrating. I got holidays all day. So I really like that, because it doesn't take anything away from a day in the future. It just adds. And I think it helps, for me, it helps me not put so much pressure on one moment, one day, one celebration. I just like the idea of spreading it out, because really, why am I waiting anyway? If I really am so excited to get for a gift exchange holiday, for example, if I'm really so excited to give somebody a gift, why don't I just give them a gift right now?
Okay, now you're just talking nuts.
Now we're talking nuts. I mean, this whole thing is nuts.
But you're right, and while you were talking, I was getting chills. And it isn't about taking away from those days and all of that, but it is about adding more things to celebrate, the smallest things, the most of the little, from the ant to the ant hill. It is the smallest. That wouldn't even make any kind of sense. It is the smallest celebrations. Even the point of celebrating, finishing washing my hair. You know, I tell you, washing the hair is a big ordeal. Combing out these curls, it just takes a little bit of time. Celebrating, finishing that. Now the hair is dry, the hair is rolled. Everything is a celebration. Yes. Yeah, everything can be a celebration. Everything can be a celebration. And the smallest, and the key is, just like you said, and I got chills when you said it, there's more. Now you have more.
I've got a really good one. I'm gonna turn it a little bit because I know those moments. I believe it really is true that I can celebrate anything at any time. And you even said I can celebrate celebrating, and I like that too. Right. And one thing that I was just thinking is there are times, because this a word that I'm linking up with this celebration is, I think gratitude is like a cousin of this word for me. And there are certain moments where I will think, what am I grateful for in this moment? What can I celebrate in this moment? Is there anything? And sometimes I do feel stopped in my tracks. Like I'm stumped. Like I can't think of one thing. So can I throw this at you and see what you think of this, or how you can help me with this? But I'd love to be able to celebrate not being able to think of anything I can celebrate. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I'm throwing the ball back to you.
That is a yes. And what the bigger picture is just acceptance. What you're doing is celebrating acceptance of not finding anything to celebrate. But let me throw this at you, and this is your answer. This is your answer that you don't even know. Well, who knows if you know? When if you really want to get down to being in a place where I don't even know what to celebrate, when I talk about this thing about being grateful. Being grateful for me is not. I'm not searching for it. I'm not a goal to be grateful. Gratitude hits me just like it hits me like the wind would hit me. It hits me at different times. Sometimes I'm feeling over a lot of gratitude. Sometimes I can't even find anything to be grateful for. I'm sorry, but I'm not even looking to feel grateful. So for me, gratitude comes when I'm not looking for it. I don't look for gratitude. I don't. I got to practice being grateful. That's not how I roll. But one of the things that you said, finding something to be grateful for when I can't. I always go to this if I'm really looking for something, the breath. Feeling grateful
now you sound like
having,
me.
That's what I just said. It was your answer. I'm giving you.
Okay.
When I said this is your answer, that's what I meant. This is what you would. I got this from you. We're talking about the breath. The breath. I always come back to my breath. You always say that to me. I come back to my breath. And so being grateful to even be conscious and aware of the breath, because there's going to be a time where, listen, I don't have any breath.
That's right. And now I feel like we're going all the way least common denominator, because if we're going to the breath, then now an acceptance, now it feels like it's all the way to I'm just celebrating the experience of being here, because Thank you. Yeah, so whatever that experience happens to be in this moment.
Yes, exactly. Whatever it happens to be, or however it happens to feel. And so see, my mind, my ego, my mind will try to talk me into, well, this is nothing to celebrate, feeling like crap. Well, why am I celebrating that? But the truth is, this whole experience with the ups and the downs and the roller coaster ride and the moments of, if I was really writing this script, I wouldn't experience this. Even those moments can be celebrated for so many different reasons. Just the fact that I am alive to celebrate feeling the conflict, yeah. Feeling the difficulty, feeling the resistance. I mean, if I'm either alive feeling it or I'm not here feeling it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Just being alive. I'm just celebrating being here.
That's right. That's right. for no reason, for absolutely no reason. So the celebration vibe is a vibe, is an energy. Well, look at him. Well, what does he do? He celebrates life. He just celebrates life. There was a woman, and I don't even know if I've ever told you this story, Nathan. When I was at UPS, and I'll never forget, her name was Nancy, and we worked in the office together, and she was always happy. She just had this nice disposition, and it's kind of like Lori Grenier on Shark Tank, and she's never raising her voice. She just seems so easygoing and not really getting angry, just a nice, calm, easygoing. And I remember asking her, how can you, because this was when I was in my early 20s, I said, how are you happy all the time? How can you? And I don't remember her answer. I really don't. But I remember, for lack of a word, admiring that or wanting that. And so when I say celebrating, it's the same thing. It's the celebration can be plug in laughter, plug in lightness, plug in not taking anything so serious, plug in freedom, plug in the vibration of awe and acceptance of this complicated but very simple life.
Yeah, it's some really good things. It made me think of this guy at the gym that I would run into, and I would ask him how he was doing, and he would always say, incredible. He would say incredible every time. And I thought to myself, is he really doing incredible? I mean, it seems like to me he's doing incredible, but how can I ask this person that every time and they have this energy about life every time? I mean, even if he's not feeling it, it sure seems like he is. And I'm thinking, I wanted to tell you that I feel like I really need to find my own way of celebrating, because people do celebrate in different ways than me, and they make big deals out of things that I don't make big deals, meaning they have big celebrations. And there is that thing, with that whole stemming from how do I see holidays, there's a whole thing of I feel like I should be celebrating in the same way at the same time as other people, especially if it seems like they're enjoying it. There was that belief that I need to be doing what they're doing to have what they're having. And even if I played all the games, okay, say for Halloween, getting dressed up, the candy, whatever, all of that goes with that holiday, even if I did get dressed up and do the candy and buying kind candy, preparing, go to a Halloween party, it still has to be in line with what's going to help me celebrate. I can do all the same actions that the holiday requires of me or that somebody else is doing, but it's really got to be still for me.
Well, now you hit on something that is really, really interesting, and nobody even talks about it, because this programming of what a holiday is supposed to look like, what a holiday is supposed to feel like, I have to say I bought into it hook, line, and sinker and carried it for most of my life. And the norm looking out into the world, well, the holiday looks like this. Everybody gets gifts. Everybody gives gifts, opening gifts on the day. It is a. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it is all a herd animal. I mean, does it even make sense that on one day out of the year, that everybody does the same thing? Everybody wants to do the same thing. Does that even make sense?
Doing that really doesn't make doing the same thing. No, I think the thing that makes sense to me is coming together, but I mean that very loosely. I don't mean necessarily physically coming together or coming together to believe a certain thing. I just mean the energy of, I think what maybe the word I'm looking for is connection. So if it's like
right, I'm going to say, and I don't want to cut you off, but I am going to have to end the show today on time.
Okay.
I'm going to say that this connection, this coming together, can happen on any single day.
Yeah, I'm totally down for that too.
Yeah, and so I moving away from allowing anything to dictate my future, including a holiday. I'm not going to say that, somebody plans a party, would you like to go? Because I've already been invited to a Halloween party 3 weeks ago. And, I already said, I have no idea. Halloween party, who knows? I'll know Halloween day if I want to be around a lot of people. But to even try to come up with a plan, an idea, a list of what to do in the future, I don't care if it's a holiday, even if it's my birthday. It just doesn't feel flowy to me. It feels more structured, and it doesn't feel flowy. Nothing wrong with structure, but I'm just saying it feels. It doesn't feel as free. How's that? I don't, and I'm trying to figure out the words to use. It doesn't feel as free as to leave everything open on a day, on a holiday. I don't know what I'm doing until that day, and or not. But I'm trying to. For me, it's staying with being able to be free and not without obligation or any expectation for myself or for others.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and add this little thing of the word that was coming to me was flexibility. Because
flexibility.
Yeah, because if I have no problem making plans. Okay, plan 2 weeks from now, tomorrow. Okay, in 2 hours, let's meet here. A plan. But for me, what feels really good is just honoring that this life is always changing. It's always flexible. It's always adaptable. Whether I think it is or not, it's just the reality. So when I acknowledge that reality, that flexibility of moment to moment, things can change, and they do, that feels good. And it feels double good if whoever I'm interacting with is doing that too. But of course, that's not my job. But my job is to remember that for me.
Right. Well, what a great show. Again, great show. Great show.
Thanks for having me. I love being on your show.
I love you sharing. And thank you for calling in and what you provide. What I love that you provide, Nathan, is a different perspective than my own and different insights, and then also just different ideas. And I love your input, and of course everybody knows this, but I'm going to tell you. I hope no one's listening. I love you. I love you a lot. Thank you for being on the show.
I love you too. Thanks, Mom.
I love you.
Bye.
All right. So what a great show. So again, going back to the topics, you're either talking about the problem or you are finding a solution. And the other thing is celebrate the subtle changes. Celebrate subtle changes. Celebrate period. Celebrate this life, because at this stage right now, I spend a lot of my time, a lot of my life not celebrating until it's a special occasion. And now I'm at a stage where I'm celebrating every single moment. I walk out, smell the air, I'm celebrating fresh air. It doesn't matter the smallest. I'm celebrating. You know what I'm celebrating? I'm celebrating that I can that I can still walk. So when I say that, it's really about the smallest celebrations, that I can still roll my hair, that I can still wash my own hair. I know it sounds a little whatever it sounds like, but it's the smallest things. And when you practice celebrating the smallest things, then you're going to be practicing, then you're going to be celebrating the smallest things. And the more you practice, the more you're going to celebrate. So Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Of course, my website isn't up yet. That's okay. Follow me on Twitter at RL Norrington and LinkedIn. My Instagram handle is Reality Spirituality. I have a YouTube channel. I have a few videos on that, but of course they're a little dated. That's all right. If you haven't seen them, you can check them out or look at them again. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon.com. My second book, Program for Unhappiness, is going to be out soon. I'm finishing all my big projects these days. And until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. You're always evolving, always changing, always growing. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality with yours truly, Rebecca Lynn Norrington, happiness specialist. Go out and have a conscious week. And remember, happiness is a practice skill. And your experience in every moment will reflect on what you practice. Have a great conscious week.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Reality Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality Spirituality. Oh, now we getting real. Getting real. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, time to get down. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good.